wants to do in heaven. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Are we learning anything?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's look at this then. Let me prove this to you. If we look in 1 Kings 18, chapter 1, it says this. And it came to pass after many days, the word of the Lord came to Elijah. The word from who? Who gave the word? The Lord, right? The word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year, and it said, Go show yourself unto Ahab. God said, he had already made up his mind, folks. God said, I will send rain upon the earth. Did he make up his mind to send rain? Yeah. Well, why in the world pray? His mind's already made up, right? God already said I'm going to send rain. So I'm going to sit on the chair and eat my Hershey Kisses and Pepsi because it's done. He's already made up his mind. But see, that's not what we're learning here. God has to have someone in the earth decree and declare what he's already established in heaven for it to come to pass. So God has already spoken to Elijah and told him, I'm going to send rain. Well, let's see what Elijah does. In 1 Kings 18:41 it says, And Elijah said unto Ahab, Get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel, and he cast himself down to the earth, and he put his face between his knees, and said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. Huh? God has already told Elijah that it's going to rain. But here's Elijah praying, and not just patty caking. Go 7 times. Have some fervency. Be willing to contend. Why is he contending for something that's already been established and we know God wants to do? Why pray? See, because even though God has established a will, he does not bypass the authority that he's placed in the earth, which is man. And he must have man to decree and declare on earth what his will is in heaven, because he placed man as the authority in the earth. So when the Lord gives us a vision, guess what we have to do? Contend for it. And when the Lord graces and puts a vision in your life, like I told you, he takes apostolic people, gives them a vision for a church, and sticks them in the middle of a place to be the total opposite of what's there. What's he wanting them to do? They must contend. Even though it's his will, they must contend. So we find Elijah here. He says, Go 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, Behold, there arises a little cloud of the sea, like a man's hand. See, this is the apostolic nature here, folks. Took 7 times just to get a little hand, something that looks like a hand in the sky. After God's already said he's going to do it. Welcome to destiny. Birthing destiny is not for the passive. Even though God's willed it, you still have to lay hold of it and contend for it. So we clearly see here, Elijah was told it was going to rain by God, and now he is contending for it. So he finally says, Get up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heaven was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. So you see now that even though it was God's will clearly to bring rain, Elijah had to be willing to contend for what had already been established. Now you also need to know that there is a prayer that births. Whole other message, but I'm going to slip it in right here. When Elijah went to that mountain to pray, he got down with his head between his knees. Has God already said it's going to rain? Guess what it means to have your head between your knees? If someone would have walked upon Elijah on that mountain and saw him with his head between his knees, he was in the birthing position that a woman gets in to give birth. They would have walked up behind him and said, what is he doing? I tell you what he's doing. He's giving birth to that which the Lord has already established, but it must be agreed with on the earth, and it has to come through the womb of someone's spirit and be decreed and declared into the earth, because you've got to contend. Even though it's God's will, you've got to contend and lay hold of that. That's why passive people never fulfill their destiny. They die wishing and hoping that it comes to pass, but it never comes to pass. Let's look at Daniel. Daniel 9, 1 through 3. In the first year of Darius, who was made king over the kingdom of the Chaldeans in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, observed in the books the number of years which was revealed as the word of the Lord to Jeremiah the prophet, for the completion of the desolation of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. Now, this means that Daniel saw in the writings what God's will was. You catch that? It was God's will. So he's just going to sit on his chair, eat Hershey Kisses, and drink Pepsi. Because it's God's will. God's in control of the earth. We clearly see here that Daniel discovered something in his readings. And guess what he did? He clearly saw the will of the Lord, and it says, so what did he do? Not eat Hershey Kisses. He said, I gave my attention to seek him by prayer and supplications with fasting, sackcloth, and ashes. God's already said he's going to do it, but here is Daniel in sackcloth and ashes crying out to God. Why? Because we've got to establish his will in the earth that he's already established in heaven, because he gave control of the earth into the hands of men. Daniel 9, 1 through 3. Oh man, I feel revelation in here now. Revelation is coming to some people in this room. I can sense it. Some of you have been waiting on God to do something. Yes. But you have to decree and declare and begin to fight for and contend for what he's already told you is coming. It's not automatic. You must lay hold of it. You are an Elohim in this earth. He has given you authority to declare his will in the earth as he's already established it in heaven.